there, sweet peas. Basic Prepper Mom Myra here. So I want to talk about being mentally and physically prepared for whatever is coming down the line. Now, one of the ways that I kind of mentally prepare, and this is going to sound kind of crazy, but just hang in there with me, is I tend to watch a lot of like doomsday prepper, survivalist, end of the world scenario kind of movies usually on Amazon Prime. They have quite a few movies on there. The acting is horrible. The storyline is bad typically. But most of the movies deal with like a natural disaster, a nuclear disaster, or a virus, or something that causes people to go into like the survival mode. Now, I watch them because whatever scenario I'm watching, short of a zombie apocalypse, of course, but whatever scenario they are dealing with in the movie, I start to think, okay, if myself and my family were in that scenario, how would we survive? What would we need on hand? And I kind of go through this like mental checklist of everything that we would need. So it kind of keeps my brain working as to, okay, look at what we could need for different scenarios out there. And I understand they're movies and they're fictional. I totally get that. But it just kind of gets my brain to thinking along those lines. Now, one of the things, I personally actually think that mentally preparedness is more important than physical preparedness. And let me just explain. The last lockdown we had, we saw a lot of depression, a lot of anxiety, increase of suicides and drug and alcohol addiction. It was really, really horrible. I think we're going to look at another lockdown type situation. So how do we prepare ourselves mentally or our families to go through that yet again? I think the positive thing in that lockdown is that we still had power for the most part. We were able to get online. We were able to have our devices. We were able to connect and do Zoom meetings. So there was that sort of interaction with people, even though it was by a computer. If we go into a lockdown situation and we lose power, we need to start looking at things that don't require power or electricity to occupy our minds. So that could be things like arts and craft projects for the kids. The dollar store is an amazing resource to get a lot of arts and craft stuff for very, very inexpensive. Just kind of get a whole bunch of stuff, put it away. Crayons, coloring books, things like that. Puzzles and board games are amazing. Anything that doesn't require power is really a great thing to have. Lots of books on hand. Not only books like fictional books to kind of read to pass the time and kids books, but you want to make sure that you have a large amount of resource books. Now, resource books could be anything from how to homestead, how to can, how to preserve food, how to process out animals, water filtration, whatever that resource is that you would find important or that you would need. Those are the kind of resource books that you have on hand. They're also good to hand out to friends and family if they need them as well. So make sure that you do actually have a library, because if we don't have power, if things go completely dark or off grid or whatever the situation, can't really get on Google and look up, okay, how do I do this? So you definitely need to have those books for resources on hand. So definitely want to make sure that you're mentally prepared. Now, you can sit your family down and say, you don't have to scare the kids. Don't scare the kids, people. But you can sit your family down and say, okay, what kind of things would you like around the house? If we had to stay in the house, if we had to camp out in the house for a few days, like if we had a secret camp out in the house, what kind of things would you like to have here that you think would be really fun? What would you like to do? So you can kind of approach it that way with the kids and find out what their interests are, get things that surround them, obviously age appropriate. That's for little kids, obviously. But talk with your older kids too. Talk with your family members and find out what they would need, what they would, how they would feel most comfortable. And also find out what creature comforts they would like to have. Now, creature comforts are very, very, very important to keep your mental status alert and high and kind of keep you happy, because happy is good, right? So your creature comforts could be a snack food that you typically don't indulge in, but it's just like a special treat. Have those on hand, because those are going to be the kind of things that will lift your mood and boost your endorphins and your happiness, and we definitely want that, right? If you live, and of course all of these are going to depend on your family dynamics, how old your kids are, if you have kids, your geographical locations, where you live, city versus rural or urban. Make sure that you can get outside. If you're in a situation where you're in an apartment complex, maybe you have even a little balcony or something, you could take the kids out on the balcony to do arts and crafts. They're still going to get that vitamin D from outside. They're still going to be able to get that air and kind of just a little bit higher mental status by just getting outside a little bit, not being cooped up inside all the time, right? So those are the kind of things that you have to prepare for. Physically, you need to make sure that you're physically fit. Now, I'm not talking about going out, running a marathon, going to the gym 6 times a week, lifting weights, whatever the situation. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about being physically fit enough that you're not going to get sick, that you're taking care of yourself, you're getting enough sleep, you're eating right, you're drinking enough water. Because the less chance that you have of getting sick, the less chance that you're going to need medication that you may or may not be able to get to. So being physically fit is definitely good, but I'm not, like I said, I'm not talking about running a marathon here. I'm just talking about making sure that you're eating correctly and taking care of yourself and your body. So those are just some tips. Definitely look into your family life and see what is going to keep you guys mentally fit and mentally aware if we end up in another lockdown, which I really think that we're going to in some aspect. So you guys have a great day and enjoy yourself and have that conversation with your family. Take care.